Have you ever found something rare in an MMO, only to get it when you no longer care about it? Or worse, you quit the game? Rare items can be fun, especially if there is some challenge to them, but in most MMOs, RNG tends to be dialed up to extremes. If there are only a few items, then it's fine. But what if everything is just lazy RNG? Simple. You make a new character. We focus so much on the idea to get the item, we lose all excitement for the item itself, and we continue to farm it because of the sunk cost fallacy and because we are used to the routine. But at that point, we are dead inside. We are sold the illusion that progressing is all about skill and being good at a game. Meanwhile, almost everything is RNG. Most collectibles are 1%, and 2% is considered high chance. Even PvP and PvE has RNG. Maybe you get bad teammates. The more items we have to farm, the more we have to make choices. And this makes people no longer care about getting everything. It teaches people to just focus on specifics. Why bother waiting for a rare spawn when you can buy a WoW token and pay a bot to find it? Why bother collecting every mount when you are going to have a couple of favorites anyway? And this in time will snowball to bigger questions. Why bother playing MMOs? Questioning if you are going to actually get an item or just waste time will make people indifferent to the game, and apathy will make you leave behind the game, even one you played your whole life. Obviously, this is the worst case scenario, but it's a real one. Do we still care that much about rarity? And what matters more? Prestige? Time? Personal enjoyment? Let's say a mount takes you 6 years to get, but you don't even like the mount. Does that make it more valuable than a mount that took you 1 month, but looks better? If a mount is easily obtainable, but has an S-tier design, does that make it a bad mount? Maybe this type of RNG worked when you were younger. We had more patience, and simply, we did not know better. But now, we actually ask ourselves, why bother? Especially when you have so many other options. RNG is still a pillar of MMOs, but if you think about it, it proves nothing because someone could get the item first attempt. Meanwhile, it took you years to get. RNG is artificial importance set by a dev who refuses to think beyond. That's how it should be. I've experienced MMO burnout many times throughout my life. At first, I played World of Warcraft on a private server. Then I moved to retail in Cataclysm. I've come close to 500 mounts on EU, only to switch to NA in January last year. And once again, I've started over. Usually, time is never wasted when you have fun. But the question is, did I actually enjoy all the hardcore farming I've done? Not really. I'm no stranger to routine, and I will sometimes even do a routine out of spite, just to finish it as fast as possible. If I have to push a single button in a monotonous way for 12 hours a day, then I will do it. Now, you might say that my level of dedication for World of Warcraft is up to insanity levels, but let's be honest, you need to be insane to play MMOs in the first place. So let's not pretend as if we are all normies here. Normies will not sit for days just looking at the screen, waiting for a mount. When I was younger, I never asked this question. But now, passive gameplay is just boring and a waste of time. I accepted whatever a game gave me because that was how it was supposed to be, and I didn't question that. But now, things have changed. I'd rather gather materials and craft the items that will summon the rare spawns, instead of waiting on dead servers and compete against bots that will sell the mount once found. I get there will be people crying that we no longer have unique or special items anymore, and to some degree I kinda agree, but at the same time, you probably don't approach games from a healthy angle if you base your self-worth on some pixels. Gatekeeping and toxicity had always been staples of World of Warcraft. Trust me, I know, the WoW community made me have a tough skin. But that doesn't mean that things can't change if we realize there are better ways to do things. The game should be fun, not hard just to have a number that means nothing. Maybe you find mounts and pets cringe, but I find the Rider IO cringe instead. But hey, I'm not gonna king shame. We all have our own level of insanity, and while I don't care about those type of numbers, others will. Now the question is, should we hold back better changes just because some people can't accept new changes? I'd say no. I know that asking for higher RNG will not be a case accepted by MMO players that had been conditioned to love torture. Don't worry, I get it. But I'm asking for alternatives to get rare items in a timely manner. In other words, the meta must change because we have changed. In Black Desert, I've had way too many tier 10 mount attempts, and I'm no longer excited about it. At this moment, I haven't logged in for about 2 weeks, and I have no desire to even open the game for 5 minutes. I have around 30 attempts and no success. And there are 3 tier 10 horses, so even if I get one, I'm still missing 2 of them. Others got all 3 of them in under 10 attempts. There was an interesting post on Reddit about RNG and how the rates change based on the player. If you play the game too much, your RNG is worse compared to people who barely play. I always felt something was off about the Black Desert RNG, but I just told myself that I was paranoid. But it turns out the feeling could be justified. If this proves to be true, then there is no point in playing BDO, because the more you play it, the more the game is against you. And if you need to take breaks in order to have fair RNG, then what's the point in getting stuff if you can't even enjoy them? I hope this doesn't happen in World of Warcraft, even though I've always suspected this to happen. After a break, I always have good RNG, and even after my switch to NA, the first few weeks I was lucky, and now I barely get any mount drops, not even the easy ones. If you run a raid with one single character for 100 attempts, that will take you 2 years. 1 year has 52 weeks. Obviously, most of us have more than one character, but once you get around attempt 300, fatigue sets in. If you take a step back and you look at the bigger picture, this is insanity. We farmed the same item for years, and we don't really see it as a big deal. I had 700 attempts on Invincible on EU, and now I'm farming it again. It's not a big deal. Don't ask me what I'm doing in my life. I don't know either. I don't care how rare a mount is if it looks like trash. I never farmed Ulduar for the mount. I think I've done it about 10 times at best, and that is because I don't give a damn about that ugly tin can of tuna. I bet there are some lunatics who love this mount. My dude, get some standards. You might argue that hate and bitterness will keep players more online, and to some extent that's true, but we all have a breaking point, and when that will happen, there is a very high chance we will never return to the game. I don't know what the optimal change would be, and I'm not here to advocate to make all items high drops. But every time I want to farm something again, I can't help but ask, am I mentally prepared to fail again? If I knew I will get a mount somewhere in my first 200 attempts, then I will not be that mad at all. But when I know I have a chance to get to 500 attempts, that's when I start to ask the questions. I guess we need bad luck protection. I don't want my items for free, I just want them to be decent. When it comes to feedback regarding this playstyle, there are 2 types of people. Those who actually farm, and those who don't farm, but were lucky one time and now they use that item to brag. I believe we should listen to feedback from the actual completionist players. MMOs are a complicated topic, and I will revisit this in future videos. So if you are interested in more, then subscribe so you won't miss anything. Until then, let me know your opinion down in the comments, and I will see you in the next one.